So, Starfield, we got to talk because I finally went and played No Man's Sky, and I kind of get what a lot of people were talking about during my first and second playthroughs of you. That being said, I still love Starfield in the same way that I love Cyberpunk 2077, the same way I love Star Wars: The Old Republic. I play games to have fun. I don't play games on my channel that I dislike, and I don't rant about things. I don't do rage bait videos on my channel. I generally only make videos talking positively about the things that I enjoy, because I'm here to enjoy these things. And Starfield for me was a lot of fun. I realize it wasn't everybody's cup of tea. That's okay. I hated No Man's Sky when I first tried it 3 years ago. It crashed my ship. I couldn't figure out how to fix it or do anything else, and I absolutely hated my experience. And in less than 3 hours, I threw No Man's Sky to the side and forgot about it and said, this game sucks. I came back to it with the World's Part 1 update, and I've been having a lot of fun, and I'm starting to see a lot of the things that people were talking about when they were looking at Starfield and saying, but No Man's Sky does this, that, and the other. And it's great that games do different things in different ways because that allows us to have a conversation starting point, and also for companies to look at ways that they can improve upon the ideas that other companies have put forth. So that being said, I'm going to critique Starfield a little bit in this video in a way that I probably haven't done before. I have 2 playthroughs up on my channel. I've done, I think, over 500 hours in between those 2 playthroughs. I've made a good chunk of change off of making Starfield videos. It has been a core part of my channel. By the way, this is not my primary ship. This is one I got the other day that we've been using for like shipbuilding on the Xbox. Anyway, I'm going to critique Starfield a little bit today. However, before we do that, very important note that I'm going to make right here. There's nothing wrong with critiquing games, absolutely. But what I will not tolerate in any way, shape, or form is the hate comments where it's just like, Starfield sucks because of this reason, Bethesda sucks because of this reason. If you come on my channel acting like that, I literally hide you from the channel. It's that simple. So if you want to be a ranty little bitch about Starfield and Bethesda, just leave your dislike, go on about your day. Because we're here to talk about all the fun that I had in Starfield, while also critiquing some of the things now that I've had some time to play No Man's Sky a little bit. So now that we've gotten out of the way, the rest of us who are here to have fun can go on and talk about Starfield. So, some of the things I really love about Starfield that I think the game just does better for me is, for one thing, the aesthetic. I much prefer this like NASA punk aesthetic that we have. And this is just one of the many ships I have. The Shieldbreaker is my primary ship. This is one I've got, and I'm going to be modding this in a shipbuilding video to have some more cargo space. I modded one like this during my first playthrough, had a lot of fun with it, so we're going to be doing the same too. The interior of this ship, by the way, I love the cockpit because it's like a very retro design. But just the outside, just the way this all looks, the steam coming off. I'm a big fan of all of this and the aesthetic of this. So coming in here and going up into the ship, some people will say, but it has a loading screen. Well, here's the thing. If you haven't checked it, No Man's Sky also has a loading screen. It goes black when you go from your ship to the surface, like on the anomaly and stuff. That's a quick, tiny little loading screen as the game does its save. But this is a cockpit that I love in this ship. I just think it looks like an old fighter pilot. And I enjoy the look of this one quite a bit. We can go in here and take a third-person look at the ship and enjoy it. It's fun. So here's one of the areas I will say that Starfield, they've got different tech, and this is where No Man's Sky is doing things in a different way. So one of the things you can have in No Man's Sky as an example is a Land Rover. Now, Land Rovers are coming to Starfield. So we're going to be getting those very soon. I believe before the Shattered Space DLC is the plan. I've heard some rumors. I haven't covered them on my channel because I tend to stay away from rumors. I wait until the devs make a video about it, and then I cover the devs news. But we do know that those are coming before Shattered Space DLC. So that'll be fun to help further explore planets. Because a lot of people talk about how when the game first launched, these maps were very much, and you could see it's a square, but the way this used to work when the game first launched is that if you landed in an area of a planet that was not static, it was procedurally generated. There are some places that are static like this one because this is an actual city. Other places are procedurally generated, and what happened was you would land in a space, you would get a square grid, and that was all you could explore. Now, the way this works now, so everyone's aware, if you haven't played it since the May 15th update, you can now continue to move in any direction, and the center of the map moves with you. So essentially what it's doing is it's constantly generating a square with you, so you can literally move with it, and it explores the planet and procedurally generates the planet out in front of you as you're running in a specific direction. So you could pick north, south, east, or west, and you could go from here. But the problem is that you can't there's no Land Rovers yet, and you also can't do it with, like, you could do it with a jetpack, but honestly, exploring the planet with a jetpack is not my favorite thing. I find this to be somewhat boring, and that's an area where I feel like No Man's Sky has done a much better job. Is not only have they given you the Land Rover, which we are going to be getting in Starfield very soon, but they also have the ability to get in your ship and fly around the planet in the atmosphere. You can take off into space, go through the atmosphere, come back down. Also, they're doing this in Star Citizen as well. And you can't do it in Starfield. And, I still don't have a problem with the way they've chosen to do it here. I don't know the intricacies of the programming that Starfield has at play. But having played No Man's Sky now, I could definitely see where a lot of people were saying, well, I wished Starfield would have had this. Because now that I've seen that at play in No Man's Sky, yeah, I kind of wish Starfield had that. And it's one of those things where I don't know the tech that they're using that well. I'm not intimately familiar with it. I'm not a programmer for them, so I can't speak to this. But I do know that it's one of those things where they've chosen to do their procedural generation in a different way than No Man's Sky did. No Man's Sky built their tech around this. Bethesda used old tech, their existing engine ideas. It may be a newer version of the engine, but it's the same engine they've used over the years in all their other games. So they came at this from an RPG perspective, which is totally fine. No Man's Sky came at it from a different perspective. The reason I bring this up is because looking at the future of Starfield and Starfield 2, or whatever it is that Bethesda is working on with Elder Scrolls 6 or the next Fallout game, I would love to see more tech like what they're using in New Man's Sky introduced into future iterations of this game. I don't know if it's possible within Starfield 1, but maybe that's something they can do for Starfield 2, because it definitely feels, when I come back to Starfield, as much fun as I have in this game, there are times when I would love to be able to just fly around the atmosphere of a planet, to be able to take off and land where I want, without the need for any sort of transitional screen. That being said, and I have talked about this publicly in many, many places, I do not dislike this right here. I don't dislike this. I'm hands off. I could put my controller down and I can enjoy a beautiful cutscene of my ship taking off and going into space. There is nothing wrong with this. I've watched the Star Wars films hundreds of times in my life, and I will never, ever, ever get tired of watching the Millennium Falcon take off from Tatooine, or do that little flip around when it comes back in The Empire Strikes Back, or the X-Wings taking off and landing on planets. When I've played Star Wars The Old Republic, I love the landing and takeoff animations. We're about to get some more in Star Wars Outlaws. I have nothing against the way they chose to do this in Starfield. I quite enjoy those sequences because I don't always want to have to manually land or manually take off on a planet. It would be really cool to be able to, blend these two technologies together, which is why I'm here just saying, hey, Starfield, you've got this down. Wouldn't it be cool if? Because, once you're in here, you've got all the staple stuff that we've seen in No Man's Sky as far as the space exploration goes. We can fly around in our ship. We can, we've got thrusters. We can increase our speed. We can go third person if we want. Burn our thrusters a little bit. Come back into first person, flip around, and then we can go, okay, I want to land on the planet. Let's open a planetary map. And this is where, it's different tech than what No Man's Sky has. So whereas No Man's Sky, you would fly into the atmosphere and then pick a place to land. Here, it's just, okay, let's just pick a place to land. Let's land here. And then we're going to get our animation sequence. Again, nothing wrong with this. Sometimes I want to be hands-off. I don't want to have to manually land at the space station every time. I'm okay with loading screens like this because guess what? This is one of my screenshots. I take lots of cool screenshots. I was a photographer in my previous day job. This shot is awesome. I love the look and feels of my ships. I love the sound effects. I love the visuals. I love all of this. But it would be cool to have the option to go between the two and to say, hey, today I want to do some manual stuff. I want to manually go off and land. So, just saying. So let's get out of here real quick because I do want to show this part of the game because we've landed in a nice forested region. And if we open up the map, well, actually what I want to do first is, well, I don't want to use the star map. We can go in here. And right now we're in the center of this square right now. And if we choose a direction, like if I just wanted to say run, like let's put a waypoint over here, and I'll show you what it looks like right now. We put a waypoint over there. I'm going to run in that direction, and you're going to see that the maps, the way they work now, compared to the way they worked when the game first launched. Because these days you do get a lot more procedural generation in terms of what's being presented on the screen, and it does move with you, and I want to show that in effect for people. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. So I've made it about halfway to the POI that I marked earlier after a few minutes of running. We've been running for several minutes. But what I wanted to point out is that now when I bring up the map, I am now, instead of this being one static square like it used to be, I am now at the center of a new square. So essentially the square is moving with me, and it's just what's being generated in my radius. It's different than the way that No Man's Sky does it, but it's still this procedural generation in front of me. These waypoints unfolded in front of me as I moved towards this POI. We have other POIs in other directions, and I can scan those and go explore them and then get fast travel waypoints to them, and we can keep running. And as we run, I'm going to keep going towards that white pyramid triangle mark because once we get there, I'm going to open up the map again, and you're going to see that right now the world looks like it terminates up here in this square, but as we move in that direction, you're going to see that it opens up and it becomes a new square as we continue to run in this direction. All right, we are essentially coming up on the spot. You can see the waypoint behind me is right ahead of us. It's right here, essentially. We actually uncovered another really cool feature. We discovered this geological site right here, which we can scan. Find a crystalline matrix out in the middle of nowhere, which now gives us a fast travel point to this location. But watch what happens when I open up the map now, because we are now at this location. This is where I put my little triangular waypoint. But as you can see, we've unlocked, because if we zoom out now, this is where I started. So when I started, that area over there, right over here, this area was the middle of the square. And we have since journeyed in this direction. This is now the middle of the square. We've procedurally unlocked the mountains ahead of us. We now have additional waypoints that have shown up on the map that I can scan, go to, and unlock as fast travel waypoints. All of this is really cool. It's a different way of doing it than what No Man's Sky does. But what I can't do, unfortunately, is I can't get in my ship and fly from that point right there to this point over here or anywhere else. Like, I can't fly within the atmosphere, and boy oh boy do I really wish we could, because I really do enjoy the space flight in I don't want to actually go to the I want to go to my ship. Yes. Hang on. Cancel. I'm clicking the wrong thing. There we go. Junker Watchdog. I would love to be able to get in my ship and fly around the atmosphere because I do love the flying in Starfield. I like the flying in Starfield more than I like the flying in No Man's Sky, just because I like the ships more in this game. I especially like the ability to go in here and use the targeting to target other ships, to take out their shields, take out their weapons, take out their engines, board the ship, take the ship over, take out the pirates inside the ship. Like, I like all of that. The ability to then take the ship, go back and customize it and everything else. But it is one of those areas where I can definitely see the criticisms that people have brought to the table for Starfield. However, it doesn't make Starfield a bad game. It doesn't make No Man's Sky better. It just means that No Man's Sky has chosen to put their skill points into a really cool, seamless technology that allows you to go from planet to surface and surface to planet and back again while going through the atmosphere, whereas this game chooses to have you do landing sequences. Again, nothing wrong with either one. I would prefer to have both in my games, but it is an area where I really hope that Bethesda is watching what No Man's Sky is doing. Because as far as I'm aware, Star Citizen is also doing it. I try not to talk about that game too much because it's still not a launched game, and I don't like to compare launched games with games that are potentially, maybe, hopefully going to do something, because you never know what's going to happen. I need to eat something here. Yeah, I'm dehydrated and malnourished. But I really enjoy, in terms of like the jumping from one place to the other. This game does it essentially the exact same way that No Man's Sky does it. So I'm here. I could pick this planet. So in No Man's Sky, what I would do is well, at least on the Xbox, I would engage my pulse drive with these two buttons, and I would then go into a cutscene, essentially an animation sequence of my ship traveling to that destination for however many seconds it's going to take me to get there. It might be a short trip, it might be a long trip. That is no different than this right here. It's just a different type of animation cutscene getting us from one point to the other. It's just a different visual, but it is the same exact process. However, once I've arrived, we're back to that whole thing of, wouldn't it be cool if I could, work my way through the Starfield, work my way through the asteroid field here, and then burn down through the Atmo, and I just think that looks and feels really cool in No Man's Sky. But I do quite enjoy flying around in my ship in Starfield. I really like the way the system works. I like the targeting system. I like, like on my big ship, the Shield Breaker, I've got an auto turret set up. Like, obviously, you could do lots of different things with your ships in No Man's Sky, and we could talk about the pros and cons of these systems all day. But this is the one area where I was like, I jumped back into this game and said, man, as much as I love Starfield, I just think that this is an area where Bethesda should be paying attention to No Man's Sky and other games and saying, how can we make that tech work to our benefit, to add this to the game, to enhance the game that's already here? Because there's a lot here to love. Obviously, this game still has. I think the way I described this the other day in my Starfield versus No Man's Sky video was, looking at No Man's Sky. Hello Games has had 8 years to make their game better. And Starfield just launched I can't remember, was it September, October, something like that? Maybe November. I really don't remember when it launched now. I remember it was right after Baldur's Gate 3, which had to have been like October or something. If Bethesda can keep working on this game for the next 8 years, and I have no doubt they will, they have big plans for this game. The 1,000 Planets thing to me is a big deal because that means it's not the infinite universe that No Man's Sky has, and that's okay. They're doing something different here. But what I do love about the 1,000 Planets, and we've talked about this in some of the other videos, is the potential for the modders to come in and use those planets to create their own universes and their own special things. But also the potential for Bethesda to come back, like they're doing with the DLC that's about to launch this fall, and say, we're going to take these 3 planets or this entire system over here, and we're going to put a DLC over there. And suddenly we populated that section of the galaxy, and then a year down the road, we're going to populate this section of the galaxy with another DLC, and then we're going to do another DLC, and then we're going to do another DLC, and then we're going to do some creation mods and all these different things. There's a lot of potential here. But I am happy that I've played No Man's Sky to be able to take a step back and look at it and go, you know what? I get why people were saying this. I still don't and will not, nor will I ever, agree with the people who come here and say, but that, Starfield sucks because they didn't do it the exact same way as No Man's Sky. That is not, that shows an absolute ignorance of how game development works, and the fact that different companies have different technologies, different engines, different ways of programming, different focuses. But what I can appreciate is the people who have constructively criticized Starfield and say, I love Starfield, but I also really love what No Man's Sky did over here, and wouldn't it be cool if? Because those are the people I can sit back and agree with and say, you're right, it would be cool if Starfield did that. And hopefully, at some point down the road, we might see something more like that. In the meantime, there's a lot of stuff to love and enjoy here. The aesthetic, the NASA punk, I dig it. I can't wait to continue to play Starfield. We'll be doing more of it here on the channel, so make sure to check out the playlist below. Daily streams happen between here and at Twitch at 11 a.m. Central Time, and I do a lot of different games, do a lot of different things. So check it all out. Don't forget the Discord, Patreon, and all the socials, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Stay safe and happy gaming.